All right, so you should be opened up to page 21 in your notebook. We're going to take some connotation and denotation notes. I know that this is kind of small, so I apologize. If you need to, feel free. If you need to like go off to the side, that's fine. I know it is small, so again, I apologize for that, but it's not going to be a ton of writing in here anyways. All right, so with denotation and connotation, this is how we're just going to kind of go through these notes to figure out what connotation actually means. We're more so focused on connotation versus denotation. All right, so denotation, and you're going to learn this a little bit later with a video you're going to watch, but denotation is a dictionary definition. So that's all we're going to write. It's a dictionary definition. So dictionary definition of a word. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so denotation is the dictionary definition of a word. Okay, something I'd like to do with that is that it is the dictionary definition. Okay, connotation. Connotation is how words make you feel. So I'm just going to write that. How words make you feel. And then I'm going to add one word to this, and it's the whole context. The context is really like how it's being used. So C and C, connotation for the context. So how that word makes you feel. So depending upon how the word is used, could depend on how it makes you feel as a reader. Something I do quite a bit in my class when I do stuff like this is I'll start the class off and I'll just go ahead and do this. And I just want you to pay attention to your reaction to the word. Okay, so for instance, if I were just to say the word vomit, that has a very negative connotation. It makes you feel kind of icky and gross. Let's see. I can only think of a few things. I don't know. Anyways, I'll just stick with vomit because that's just, there's other words that make you feel a certain way. So we're just going to kind of go through this, but again, connotation is how words make you feel. Okay. So we're going to go through here. We're going to kind of write down what this is. So chef, that's just the word. And the denotation, which is the dictionary definition. Chef is basically just a cook, a professional cook, but a cook nonetheless. So I will do this though. We're going to put professional cook, or someone who cooks food. And the connotation to this, and when you hear the word chef, it more so has a positive feel to it. It's more of a positively connotated word. Instead of, I could have just said cook, but chef has that like next status to it, so it's more of a positive connotation. So I'm going to write positive, and I can even just put a plus mark over there. Okay, gaunt. You may not even know what that word means, but think about that feeling. Just the word of gaunt. It kind of comes off with a negative feel. So I'm going to go ahead and just put negative over here. Negative. And put a negative sign. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what that word means. That word means like extremely, extremely thin, or small, or slender, but it's like to the extreme. Okay, so this would be like if someone is not very healthy, you'll see that they're having gaunt like stature to them. Okay, so extremely thin, that has a negative connotation. Emergency, just think about the word emergency. That kind of gives us all a little rise. Like if there's ever an emergency going on in my family, I kind of freak out a little bit. So that to me gives me a negative reaction. So negative. Okay. An emergency, it's serious. There's something that's happening, a serious situation. I'm just going to write serious, but it has that negative connotation to it. Confident. That's a positive. Like if you're confident in yourself, that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and put positive with plus. And confident, that's just self-assured. Like you're good. You got everything in order. You feel good about yourself. Okay, so I want you to think about how different words make you feel, because again, we're really more so focused on the connotation of words more so than the denotation. We're not focusing on the definition. We're more so going, okay, how does that word make me feel? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move down to this bottom part, because there are different ways that you could have a positive connotation versus a negative connotation depending on what you have. So house, for instance. So denotation for that, it's a place to live. That's all it is, a place to live. So I'm going to write that. Oh, my pencil is out of lead. All right, there we go. So place to live. Okay, a positive connotation. Okay, well, if I wanted to change that word and have more positive connotation to it, I could say it has to be somewhere that I can live, a place that I could live. I could say a positive one would be like a mansion. Okay, it's kind of fun. A negative connotation word for a place to live could maybe be like a shack. I know how I would view that if I were to say Mrs. Dingman lives in a house. Great, that's awesome. Okay, but if I were to say Mrs. Dingman lives in a mansion, it's kind of like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But then if I said Mrs. Dingman lives in a shack, we kind of have a more negative feel versus that positive feel. Okay, you have the word said. That just means to speak. So again, we're going to try to figure out a different word that could be positively connotated, meaning to speak, and then one that's also negative. And this one's kind of hard to say. I don't know, like the word said, it's just the word said. Like you could put like to state, stated, or you could even say said delightfully. I don't know. I'm just going to put stated. I know that's not 100% positively connotated, but it's also not negative. It's more so staying in the neutral zone, which is where said is. But that's all I come up with today. The next one for negatively connotated for the whole to speak is shouted. When someone shouts something, that more so comes off with a negative feel. Okay. Smell. This is that there's a scent. Okay. A positively connotated word for that would be like the aroma. So instead of saying the smell of this room, you could say the aroma of this room. Or the negative connotation would be the odor. So you could say the odor of this room. It has more negative connotation. Angry. This one's kind of a hard one. The denotation is it's just showing annoyance. So show annoyance. Again, I'm sorry, it's small. You can feel free to write down below. That's fine. To show annoyance of something. And this one's kind of a hard one to figure out if you have a positively connotated versus a negative. So I kind of went with what's a word that also means angry, but is not like, it doesn't come off negatively or as negative, I guess. So one that I came up with was displeased. It's more positively connotated. And then for a negative one, I put down resentful, because that word has a more negative connotation to it. So going from this, I really just want you to understand the difference between denotation and connotation, because we're going to do a lot with connotation. So I want you to really focus on how does a word make you feel and what was happening in the text to allow that word to make you feel that certain way. All right, awesome.